I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the share, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
I'm Dreme, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hey beautiful people, it's Dreme. The story I want to share today is about the first few weeks of my experience in South Africa, where I experienced racism, but subtle racism. Before sharing that story, I think it's important for me to remind people that for those who are listening, those who are just joining on this journey with me, is that my identity, education, and hair are all interconnected for me. And so my podcast is doing this constant loop of being able to work through the thoughts of my hair journey, my identity, my beliefs and roles as an educator. And now a new addition to that is the tech entrepreneur into my loop. However, my loop just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Okay, so with that said, this is when I just started my Fulbright. It is in Cape Town, South Africa. It was me and 3 other Fulbrighters, 4 of us all together. I, as a black woman, 2 white women, and 1 woman who identified as biracial. But when you look at her, she can be considered racially ambiguous, and she can pass for white, depending on the day. Also out of the group, I am the oldest. And at that time, I was 30. And so there's a couple of differences, not only how we look, the experiences we had. One of the Fulbrighters just got out of college not too long ago. Another had a couple of years under her belt in education. And the Fulbrighter, the biracial Fulbrighter, was the closest in age to me. So she had tons of work experience, also higher education as well. The first time we all met each other was at the airport. So we all had to get to D.C. And then from the flight from D.C., we flew to Cape Town, South Africa, straight. So like 14 and a half hours. Because we didn't really understand what we were really getting into when we got to South Africa, we were trying to just figure out where to land for a place for the first month. 3 of us decided to get an Airbnb together. So it was me, the biracial Fulbrighter, and one of the white Fulbrighters, but she was the youngest one. So the 3 of us were going to live together for 3 weeks. And again, just because none of us have been to South Africa before at this point, we didn't really know exactly where to land. We ended up getting an Airbnb that we thought was closer in town. We were absolutely wrong. It was more of like a 30-minute outside of the city, as if I wanted to live in Boston, but ended up getting a rental in Everett. And you're like, oh, okay, I was a little wrong, but I can still get into the city. And certain Airbnbs require you to do a little bit of a background check on you beforehand. So, they asked us for some information, things like that, so they can vet you before they let you into their home, which is fair. Our host, a white South African couple, let us into their home for 3 weeks. They were very polite. It was 2 floors. So the first floor had a little open concept kitchen, a little living room. Outside, they had a little patio with a little pool. And then on the second floor, they had 3 rooms. So each of us had a room. And I want people to remember this. Just like a hotel, the sheets were all white. The towels were white. And we were able to unpack and things of that nature as we settled in. Okay, we're in a new country, trying to figure out our role as Fulbrighters, also trying to just understand, navigate, lights are going off, trying to cook, do everything before electricity goes out, understanding that you're hearing different languages, you drive on the other side of the road, you walk on the other side of the sidewalk. There is a lot going on. And there's times I think about how racism is unexpected. I think I've mentally prepared myself for racism that I'm usually not surprised when it happens. And I have quick retorts, ways to be able to make sure that I'm safe, the people around me are safe. When this first conversation happened, it threw up a lot of red flags for me. Let me explain. It is February. It is hot in South Africa. When hot, it is hot. And so we asked, could we use the pool? And she said yes. I am swimming in this pool, this woman's pool. And she comes out and she's pacing. And so she's like, hey, can I talk to you? Like, I want to understand you Americans. You're here. Why are you here? And so me and the biracial Fulbrighter are outside in the pool. I'm in the pool. She's sitting on the edge. And we're telling her what our goals are, what we're doing, what our backgrounds are, things of that nature. And so she starts to talk about her experience, her world. And she is an older woman in her late 60s, I was guessing. So she is talking about South African politics. She's talking about South African pride. She's also talking about South African corruption, her retirement, her family, her adopting Black kids. So she's just letting us into her world. And when anybody decides to do that, I am mutually thankful. So she's talking about her frustrations with the government. She's talking about her frustrations with immigration. And this is where it starts to, I'm like, you get a little cringe when you hear language that sounds very familiar, but the characters change where she's, I'm really tired of the Zimbabweans taking our jobs. And I was like, that sounds just like how they talk about the Mexicans in America. But again, sometimes people just need to say the language and then they explain why they're frustrated. So I do not know this woman, so I'm just letting her speak. So as you know, if you've been listening to my podcast, I like to ask questions. I want to understand their why. And her bringing up her adopted Black kids, again, I think she did that because she was talking to melanated folks in front of her swimming in her pool. Before this moment, there were no signs that this woman felt uncomfortable with us in her house. She continued on, and she was talking about her opinions of the apartheid. She was talking about her opinions of crime, and she said that she was frustrated with the level of crime. She felt that she was scared with the level of crime. And she was very clear about making a distinction from white South Africans, Black South Africans, and colored South Africans. Again, this is my first time in South Africa. So my experience is just from what I've read from books, what I've watched on TV, from movies like The Color of Friendship on Disney Channel. I am trying to understand where she is coming from. And she gives this example of riding a segregated bus. And she said segregation was bad, but we were able to get to where we needed to go. She said when integration happened, she said she didn't feel safe to ride the bus anymore. And so then she asked out loud, not necessarily directly at me or the other Fulbrighter, couldn't life be better with us being segregated, but we can get to where we need to go? She says, I think about that question every day.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hairboards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair. The chair. The chair. All right.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
The chair.
And for me, that was a very big red flag because I have questions about her definition of comfort. I have questions about her definition of safety. I have questions about her definition of equity. But this is day 2 out of the 3 weeks in this woman's house. And this is day 2.5 of my experience in South Africa. So I'm trying to understand what is common language, how do people talk to each other. But for me, I was like, this is a flag. And at the time, again, I'm still getting to know the Fulbrighters, all of them. And me and her, we look at each other just to look at each other being like, we heard the same thing. After she said that, she ends up walking away. The next day happens. We're at day 3. Day 3 goes by, no issue. Day 4 comes, and the 3 of us are in the living room chatting about our day. The hostess walks in to the house. She didn't really have any boundaries, so even though we were renting out the place, she was just popping in whenever she felt like it. Hey, can we have some space? She never really took that into consideration, and we thought, maybe this is just the way this works here. So we're sitting on the couch, chuckling, having a laugh, and she comes over. She goes, hey, I just wanted to talk to you all for a second. We're like, yeah, no problem. And she goes, because we recognized when we got there that our stuff was moved, our clothes were moved, just things without our permission. And so we were just laughing about our day, but we were also trying to figure out the mystery of where our stuff went. She was like, oh, I put it away, and I also took your towels, things like that. So we were like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to touch our stuff. Where can we move things for you so we know we can make it easier for you or the housekeeper? So we were trying to figure out those pieces to make our stay easier, to also be polite, to also still be comfortable in her house. She then continues on and says, hey, I washed all of your towels. She looks at me and goes, hey, Dreme, I changed your white towels to the brown ones so they will be easier to clean. And she said that, and I didn't say anything because I was more in shock that this was happening at this moment. And the other Fulbrighters also didn't respond because they were also in shock. And then she said, have a good night. And she left. So I turn around to the other Fulbrighters and I go, that's crazy. How can we help you? What can we do? And I was like, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Tomorrow I'll talk to her, but let me see if she really did change my towels and if she change any of yours. Because she just pointed at me. She didn't say to the other Fulbrighters that she also changed their towels to the brown one. So we go upstairs and she absolutely changed the towels to the brown ones. And she didn't change the other two Fulbrighters' towels. The next day, I go up to her and go, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about you changing my towels to brown and why not the white ones? And she said to me, she was like, whatever you're wearing on your body at night is ruining my 500 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. She was like, you just need to stop using that. It's ruining my sheets. And I told her, I was like, I wear cocoa butter before I go to bed. However, I'm dry before I get into the bed, so it's not ruining sheets. Also, the other Fulbrighters are either wearing coconut oil or Vaseline or some type of lotion at night. So, like, you're only pointing this out about my skin tone. And she goes, no, it's just you. You're ruining my 500 thread Egyptian cotton sheets. And then she walked away. So then I go back and I explain this to the other Fulbrighters about her logic, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I'm in this woman's house for another 2 weeks. We're trying to figure out where we're going to live for apartment hunting in South Africa, which is also difficult because they're very clear about not getting people of color. So every time I've asked for showings, they're like, oh, we don't show to Americans. We also don't want black people in these apartments. So we were already dealing with that in these messages looking for apartments in South Africa for our 9-month stay. Now, at this moment, on this day 4, with this very nice lady who is saying that I am ruining her sheets because of the color of my skin. And from then on, I didn't want to have any conversations with her because I was frustrated. And my Fulbrighters were really helpful, and they said, we'll handle communication with her. You don't have to talk to her or address her or things like that. And our white Fulbrighter was up to the task, so she took charge with all communication. But things still kept happening. When we needed our clothes washed, we had to bring our laundry down, and she would wash my other Fulbrighter's laundry, but she would refuse to wash mine. And I said, that's fine, I can wash my own. And she refused to let me use her washing machine. And her argument was, my clothes will ruin the machine. So I think a lot about subtle racism. She never called me a slur. She never said anything that would be considered derogatory directly to my face. But how she was responding by choosing not to do my laundry while she did the other Fulbrighters, choosing to give me darker towels because I was ruining her towels and ruining her bed sheets, was a frustrating introduction into South Africa for me. I bring this story up because sometimes it's not pitchforks. I'm not dealing with people yelling derogatory things out their car window, which I have experienced in Illinois on my college campus. It's subtle. It's still highlighting the difference. And just because it's not called segregation, it's not called the apartheid, doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. And if it's not addressed, then it will still continue. So we stayed there. We finished our 3 weeks and we wrote a review. And her response to that review was that I was a liar. But the fact that all three of us that were there saw it, heard it, and we were all different colors. And they were able to have me say that about them in the review so other people can see that, to recognize that this woman has work to do. And just because she opened up her home doesn't mean that she wants us there.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story. Where we share